Thanks for tuning in. About 5 years ago, many clients migrated some storage and compute to remote and cloud data centers due to a sudden change to remote working environments. Most of our clients have a 3 to 5 year upgrade cycle, and some even longer. Repangea, or moving back from colo and cloud to on-premises, started about 2 years ago and is accelerated with the need for local AI and the price increases and more frequent outages with our customers' cloud providers. Old MacDonald had a server farm, with a duck here, a switch there, and a piglet over there. As the outages at the big and small cloud and colo providers increased last year, the intensity of the calls and emails we received, asking how quickly we could help folks move their data back from the cloud, increased. Each reported outage with AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, and then Cloudflare increased the number of quotes for migration and hardware support we received. Surprisingly, the cloud outages have caused our engineering customers to point out that their managers did not seem to understand that when you outsource your data and its security, you may end up with some problems with security and the costs of remote applications and storage. Our customers tell us that insourcing their storage and compute has a 6-month to 9-month ROI over cloud costs. Your mileage may vary. By the end of last year, we were sending out proposals to help our customers migrate from VMware to Proxmox regularly. After we successfully helped a customer move their environment back from the hinterlands, an old engineering customer told us how their manager took credit for the successful data migration and cost savings. Bosses like cost savings. Engineers like the ability to work on equipment that is safe, secure, and local. The finance and risk folks like the ROI and benefits of rapid depreciation on hardware. And now we will begin a short presentation followed by an Ask Ken Anything session on Proxmox, systems, security, costs, and migrations. We have been using FileMaker since 2004. As our business grew, we recognized that we needed a completely relational ERP system for inventory, purchasing, engineering tickets, engineering projects, manufacturing, shipping, service policies, bills of materials, and CRM for our customers and prospects, keeping all notes and records on incoming orders, quotes, and historical email and documents. And so we need a high-performance FileMaker server and remote mirroring. This is when our engineers began tinkering. I started writing MRP programs in PIC in 1982. I then wrote DBase 3 and 4 and FoxPro MRP systems for companies until 1989. In 1989, I decided to start my own business writing MRP programs. As the internet became prominent, my customers wanted me to solve their networking and connectivity issues. We got involved in load balancing and storage in the late 1990s. And during the financial panic of 2008, 3 of our customers asked us to build them a storage solution, which became the SimpleStore project. Our FileMaker solution has grown as our business has grown. We have about 3.5 million records in about 800 tables with about 5,300 fields linked by 421 relationships and 16.5 gigabytes of direct FileMaker database files. We have over 87,000 externally stored container files, about 37 gigabytes managed by 1,769 scripts and 1,696 layouts. Since we keep everything related to systems, logs, emails, attachments, contracts, etc., we have a lot of storage in our associated documents. We believe in security, and we remote replicate our data between our data centers. In the summer of 2025, I met the folks at Harmonic Data and Taylor Sharp at the Dallas FM Pug group meeting and started talking to them about our SimpleStore PE, which we developed for our FileMaker server requirements, because we could not find an enterprise-level FileMaker solution that would work as an enterprise VM host in our infrastructure. Steve and Matt of Harmonic spoke with me over lunch, and we discussed our hardware solutions and Proxmox, and they asked me a bunch of questions. I was surprised to learn that our hardware design and engineering was not part of many FileMaker developers' tool sets. In our enterprise storage and service business, we work mostly with IT managers and engineers. Zerowait is known for outstanding customer service and support, and just yesterday we were speaking to a NASCAR team we have been working with for 20 years about their migration from Nutanix and VMware to our simple converged solution of Simple Store and Proxmox. Steve at Harmonic came up with a turnkey Simple Store FileMaker solution he refers to as just add water. He would like us to build our Simple Store solutions for his company with standard templates for the OVAs that his company typically require for their on-premise FileMaker and AI requirements. Since the folks at FileMaker don't have a full definition of what an enterprise FileMaker server should be hosted on, our engineers have built a set of hardware and Proxmox solutions that fill the market niche. At this point, Chris is going to take over the presentation and is going to get progressively more technical, and then we'll have our Ask Ken Anything on the 8 topics that are tightly connected to an enterprise FileMaker environment.
Thanks, Mike. So this is how we start a project at Zerowait. We have a ticket created via our ticketing system in FileMaker. We receive client requests for new Simple Store X14. We open an engineering ticket and review the infrastructure requirements. We design a Simple Store X14 using FileMaker blueprint quotes that we developed. We quote it, we build the Simple Store, test and validate all the components, and then we configure that system specifically to our client's needs. Now, the question we get is, are there really just 2 types of people in the world? Maybe, but some of us hold a few different titles like biker, martial arts instructor, rescue training instructor, dog dad, human dad, and yes, dog dad is in front of the human dad. So I've been in IT since the late 90s. Spent a few years at Dell focusing on server customization, 6 years at NetApp as a systems engineer, 4.5 years at EMC as a regional pre-sales resource, and then joined the global competitive group. Worked for a few years at startups, and then I've been at Zerowait since 2013. So why did we build the FileMaker Performance Server? Well, we couldn't find a commercially available turnkey solution. So as a company of storage and networking engineers, we decided to build our own. So to better understand where we are today, first we need to cover a bit of history. In the beginning, we were a mix of X8 and X9 versions of our VM hosts, which are platforms from Supermicro. We replaced the X8 hosts over time, arriving at our current environment. The movement to the X14 was driven by our adding features to FileMaker. Our automatic ticket creation for level 1 events. We added an exception reporter that was brought in from an external app. We added automatic fault detection and reporting. All of our client logs are processed in FileMaker, and a simpler report is sent out to the clients weekly. A quoting tool with the ability to create predefined templates for supported builds, email marketing and tracking, and a lot of other stuff. All of our data is self-secure, and it's local to our data centers in Delaware and Texas. So this really busy flowchart here outlines our data handling within FileMaker. From auto support emails to the rule editor, ticket management to client emails, this is a high-level overview of our process flow within FileMaker. We have timers that log the duration of our scripts. So when we were reading through some of our weekly logs, it took anywhere between 5 and 9 minutes per log to process. When we moved over to the X14 platform, we found that our logs were just taking under 2 to 3 minutes to run. That is a 3-time improvement on average. Now, our clients face a few challenges when looking at infrastructure. One is cost. VMware, with its recent changes, has become fairly price prohibitive. No more perpetual licensing, 72 core minimum purchases for many products, massive increases to renewal pricing. Another, security. Cloud has had a few challenges lately. CrowdStrike back in July 24, Google Cloud in June of 25, AWS in October, Microsoft Azure in October, Cloudflare November 25, and we see them over and over again. Our experience adding the X14 system to our environment led us to believe that developers and clients could also benefit from its flexibility and versatility. Since our focus has always been to provide safe, secure, and local solutions to our clients, we began looking in a different direction. One of our developers, Ken Irwin, suggested that we should take a look at Proxmox. Since it's fully open source and it's free to download and install, it's also an option for paid enterprise support. Proxmox is unique in that it has native ZFS support. A little bit more on that in a bit. So we decided to take a closer look. And what did we find out? I'm so glad that you asked. Proxmox is a Type 1 hypervisor just like VMware, meaning it installs directly on your computer's hardware, not on top of another operating system like Windows or Mac OS. This allows it to manage your hardware resources more directly and efficiently. It supports both virtual machines as well as containers, unlike VMware that only supports virtual machines. With the latest version 9.1, Proxmox also supports encapsulated Docker containers, and all of this functionality is deployable from a common web GUI. Proxmox comes with a web-based graphical interface that makes it easy to manage your virtual environments, storage, network settings, and updates from any web browser. Proxmox allows you to dynamically allocate resources like CPU power, memory, disk space, and even GPUs, enabling you to set limits and priorities to ensure that your applications run smoothly. Additionally, the native ZFS support from Proxmox brings features such as copy and write snapshots and clones, just to name a few. So what is ZFS and why in the world do I care about that? That's a great question. ZFS is an open source advanced file system logical volume manager originally developed by Sun Microsystems. So instead of managing individual drives, ZFS creates a pool from all of your drives. That acts as a single large storage space that you can easily add more drives to expand it later. When you change a file, ZFS doesn't overwrite the original data. It writes the data to a new location and then updates the pointers to the new data. This means your data is never corrupted by a power failure or crash during write operation. If something goes wrong, the system can revert to the last known good state, and there's no need to run a file check. ZFS constantly checks the integrity of your data using checksums. If it finds a corrupted block on a drive, it can automatically self-heal, and it uses the redundant information from other drives in the pool. This is a significant advantage over traditional RAID, which might just duplicate the corrupted data. Snapshots are instant, space-efficient, point-in-time copies of your data, and allows you to easily roll back to a previous state if you accidentally delete a file or mess up a config. Snapshots are also read-only, and therefore they're not susceptible to ransomware attacks. ZFS is also very efficient when it comes to replication for backups and DR. One of the most noteworthy attributes of ZFS integration with Proxmox is that regardless of the operating system, any VM stored within a ZFS pool can benefit from those snapshots. So whether it's Windows, Linux, Ubuntu, file systems, NTFS, ext4, it does not matter. They all benefit from the ZFS snapshot capability. As we mentioned earlier, we've been working with our good friends over at Harmonic on a just add water build, and this is an example of what that might look like. Here we have 6 virtual machines running on a Simple Store X14. We have a FileMaker server, we have a server running RDP, we have a LAMP server, we have an AI RAG server, a system for AI training, and another FileMaker worker node. Running several systems under Proxmox provides a number of benefits: lower hardware costs and better utilization and efficiency, operational management, snapshots and live migrations, flexibility and scalability, dynamic resource allocation, and high availability. Bottom line is this: a just add water build can reduce server count by 60 to 80%. It can reduce power and cooling and admin time by 50 to 70%, allowing you to provision resources in minutes instead of weeks. And it protects your data using HA, disaster recovery, and live migrations. Next, we're going to have a demo of one of the capabilities of Proxmox and ZFS. Here we have the administrative console for Proxmox along with 2 VMs, a FileMaker server running on Windows 2022 and FileMaker Pro running on Windows 11. The GUI is clean and straightforward to use. Since everything is laid out logically, it makes everything simple with the navigation. Now, let me show you how easy it is to create a ZFS pool in which to store your VMs. Here you simply select a server, then you go under Disks to ZFS, click Create ZFS, give the pool a name. For demo purposes, we're just going to create a 2-disk RAID 1. Now you're going to select the 2 available drives and click the Create button. It's just as simple as that. Now it's just as simple to delete a ZFS pool. Let me show you how. You go to the server. Since we're already in the ZFS section, we select the pool you want to remove. Click More, then Destroy. As a safety precaution, enter the ID to confirm the removal. Click the Remove button, and it's done. Just as simple as that. Now, before I show you how all of this is going to enrich the lives of all of those here in person, remote, and the millions of people watching this later on YouTube, since we're an infrastructure company, we tend to do a ton of testing. During testing, we often blow stuff up looking for better ways to do things, and typically that's me doing it. Doing a full restore of all of our FileMaker databases would take quite a bit of time, and if we missed a step, we often ended up having to run a verify on the databases. So we created a tool that would make sure that we didn't forget any steps. So this is what you're going to see as we do a full restore from our previous backup. So here we're going to go to our FileMaker server, and we're going to open up our F&P Tools app. And it's set up so that it displays a server by name to help validate the system we're about to perform a restore. It's also site aware so that if we use it in our DR facility, it's going to look for the replicated backups. So we're going to choose Update Recover. We're going to say yes, we want to continue. We're going to browse to the backup that we want to restore. Now the databases are going to be closed now and removed. Then the databases from the backup location are about to be copied over to the FileMaker server. Now we've compressed the time on the copy. That way it doesn't seem like you're watching paint dry. Now, once the copy is finished, and there it is. The tool is going to open the databases. It's going to verify that the number of databases open to the same number that exists on the server. And then we're going to have a timer pop up showing us the total time for the restore. 4 minutes and a second. So now we can pop over into the admin console. And we can see that all 13 of our databases are open and available. Now we're going to show you one of the benefits of ZFS snapshots. As we mentioned before, the power and versatility of ZFS snapshots can benefit any flavor of operating system running as a VM on Proxmox within a ZFS pool. Now we're going to go over to the Proxmox console, select the server, go down to snapshots. Now we're going to click the Take Snapshot button. Here we're going to name our snapshot, and you'll notice the Include RAM checkbox. We're going to make sure that's checked. The RAM option allows us to copy the system state at the moment you're creating the snapshot. It'll take a little bit of time to copy the RAM for the system state, but it's going to allow us to bring the system back to that state after rollback. And we've compressed the time here again. Overall, it took about 5 minutes to do the RAM copy, plus a near instantaneous snapshot for ZFS. And there we go. Now that we have a good snapshot, we're going to go medieval and create some havoc and delete some FileMaker databases. Now we're going to go in the admin console, close all of our databases. So that's some Jeopardy music in here. So once this completes, there it is. We're just going to go ahead and browse the directory structure. See program files. Everybody knows this: FileMaker, FileMaker server, data, and databases. And we're just going to go ahead and whack the entire directory structure. And then we're going to go ahead and empty the recycle bin just to make sure. Now, looking back at the admin console, somebody's not having a very good day. But wait, we have a snapshot. Now we're going to go back to the Proxmox console into our snapshot section. We're going to select the snapshot we want, click the rollback button, and confirm that we really want to do the rollback. The rollback begins and we compress time again. Total time is just under 3 minutes. And we're done. Now let's see what we got. Now we're going to go check our FileMaker server. And look, we've got all of our databases up. We're going to go to a client, open that up. We see that all of our databases are mounted and we can access the client. Now back in the admin console, we can see that we've got the connection to the database. So this is just one of the features that Proxmox is able to provide for any operating system. The X14 is a flexible enterprise solution that doesn't break the bank. It can support up to 256 cores, provides up to 50% more performance in compute-intensive tasks. It's also optimized for the latest NVIDIA, Intel, and AMD GPUs. It's running PCIe 5, which is double the bandwidth of PCIe 4, and up to 400 gigabit networking options. The X14 reduces the hosting costs for scaling FileMaker and enables on-prem scaling without having to refresh hardware. And this is the blueprint tool within FileMaker that we created. It's integrated with our inventory and pulls cost and client information to create our quotes. So I have a little Jeopardy pop up here. So there's 8 different sections that we can talk about. We're going with AI, virtualization, security, service support, costs, and Proxmox powered simple store, and how to break free from the chains and agony of VMware or Nutanix. So with AI, there are 5 ways that Zerowait can help customers overcome AI-related issues using simple store hardware. Avoids cloud volatility, hidden fees, and dependency on external providers. Eliminates bottlenecks and OEM-imposed limitations. It enables secure, high-performance on-prem AI processing. Reduces costs, extends infrastructure and lifespan for scaling. And it accelerates data-intensive AI tasks with fast, reliable storage. Moving over to virtualization, you go out to our website, out to simpleconverge.com. There's a lot of information there that you can peruse that explains one of the values and benefits of Proxmox. And with security, well, nobody has any security issues. The cloud is just fine. Well, maybe not exactly fine. So from global data breaches, Microsoft hiding key data flows in plain text. Wired magazine is going up with satellites leaking the world's secrets, calls, and texts. And with Fortinet having issues as well, security should be at the forefront of everybody's mind. Zerowait provides support to offload the obsolescence of hardware. We also support hardware reliability and failures. We support networking and integration issues. We support gaps in high vendor costs, and we help lower the performance and scalability bottlenecks. If you go out to our website, we've also got a full white paper on the comparison of costs between VMware and Proxmox. And to make sure that you're not gambling with your data, Zerowait's created a cost-effective modular product offering. So starting from the foundation level all the way up to the enterprise level, clients have a range of choices on which to tailor their specific needs. So from the foundation model, professional, and enterprise, we've got stair steps that you can customize from. And breaking free of the chains of VMware, cost, no vendor lock-in is another advantage of Proxmox. Native support for both VMs and lightweight containers, built-in advanced storage options, ZFS and Ceph, as well as performance in certain workloads, especially storage I/O. Proxmox also helps with cost licensing over Nutanix, as well as no vendor lock-in, hardware flexibility, built-in containers, and storage and architecture flexibility. And so those are some of the ways that Zerowait can help you free yourself from the chains of VMware and Proxmox and all that high cost. And it looks like we've got Ken on board. Ken?
Yeah. Hey, Chris.
Hi,
Yeah.
Ken.
Sorry about that. Microsoft decided to do a driver update right as I was going to join this.
And that never happens. So, Ken, if you want to go ahead and share your screen, he could show us a demo of some of the integrations that he's done with Proxmox.
Well, we have a
Sure.
question, Ken, from Shane in Sydney, who wants to know how you do a VMDK migration.
Okay. So here's the Proxmox interface. Is everybody seeing this?
Stand by.
Yes. No.
All right. I think we're good now, Ken.
Are you? Okay. Good. Okay. So, well, what do you want to see first? Do you want to see how you do a VMDK?
Yeah, let's go ahead and show how you would migrate from a VMDK over to Proxmox.
Sure. So if I do create VM, and I can just do hmm, that's hmm. So let's see. I have what's going on here? Sorry, bear with me. What the update that got done on my machine was the USB bus, and so everything USB is a little wonky.
Yeah, but updates are supposed to help us.
Yeah, well, so they say. All right, better. The wrong place. There we go. All right. So sorry about that. Looking for a VMDK file. Okay. Anyway, sorry, I'm struggling with this. Uh, Proxmox will just import a VMDK file. I don't, again, I just rebooted this machine. So, but okay. Can we circle back to that one?
Yeah. How about remote replication?
Sure. So this machine is set up okay with 3 storage nodes. So it has these 3 storage nodes. Each of these containers is then set up okay as a storage share. Each of these storage shares is then replicated to another node. So if you look at the replication agreements on these, you'll see that this one is replicating to this one. This one is replicating to both this one and this one. And they're all have replication agreements between them. Then these down here are configured as compute nodes, and in each of these doesn't require any replication because it is mounting the shares from above. So all of these shares correspond to ones that are up here. So if you look at the NAS backups, then NAS backups is mounted here. The LXC is where your containers are. OS ISOs is where your operating system ISOs are, and then your VMs are on this share here. And again, these are all come from these storage nodes up here. Now within these within that storage can be backed up, replicated. You can take snapshots of it. You can clone it. This is all the kind of the magic of ZFS happening in the background. When these machines, because all these machines are looking at shared storage, okay, they have access to the storage no matter which node they're running on. So right now, this one is running on PMX 010. If we take this container here, it's running 105, and fingers crossed here because this has all been a little wonky so far, but let's just go ahead and give this a try and take this and let's see if we can migrate this over to onto our node 10. So we look at node 10 kind of in the grayed out background here. You should see that 105 should pop up over here on node 10. Give it a minute. And there you go. So now that VM instance is running on, it's actually a container. It's running on node 10, but because this machine is set up with kind of gravity to it, okay, to go back to its home node, if that home node is available, then it returns back to its original location. So there it's coming back to node 20. And there it is started up there. And it was running through the entire process. because storage is replicated across the whole thing um, and available across all the VMs, all of the um, all of the containers. So, what else do we want to kind of go over here?
So
I got one.
we have a couple other questions.
Mhm.
The next question is in three parts, so I'll give you all three of them. So how long does a typical project take? How much disruption could there be for the business? And can it be completed in a phased approach? So how long does a typical project take? Ish.
It can all be very fast. It all kind of depends on what you're doing with your storage on the back end. So, what is the intent there? If we're going to move the whole storage over, then it takes whatever time it takes to move that storage over.
Okay.
Um,
How much disruption could there be for the business? How disruptive is it to move from VMware to Proxmox? Let's say that you have a, shared backend if you're storing your VMDKs on
it should
on
be
an
very
NFS
little,
mount.
if any. I mean, you're talking about having machines down for minutes, not hours, not days.
And can that be done in a phased approach?
Absolutely. There's the end user sees the VM. They don't see the underlying structure that sits underneath the VM. So from their standpoint, they don't know whether it's running on Proxmox or whether it's running on VMware. So you could have somebody um, running on a VM that's running under VMware, and then target that machine for migration. Um, that machine then gets migrated over, which is probably it typically is going to probably be 5 to 10 minutes. You probably want to keep that person out of the machine for that time period, only because the VMDK you're going to be importing into Proxmox will be a snapshot of where it is at that time. So if you let that person continue to work, okay, they're going to be 10 minutes out of date once that machine comes up in its new location.
Okay, that makes sense.
A
So we
question
have
I-
another question about Docker and Proxmox.
Okay, so so in this latest release that Proxmox has done, they have taken Docker and incorporated that into Proxmox. So you can actually bring in um, Docker images, Docker container images directly into Proxmox. And what Proxmox will do then is create a container, a Linux container to run that Docker instance in, and virtualize that Docker instance kind of on the fly.
Okay, so I actually have a question. Um, so we run VMware. We're getting ready to migrate over to Proxmox, and we store our VMDKs, all of our data stores, across an NFS mount onto Filer. So if I wanted to move everything into Proxmox, and you're talking about containers, is there a way that I could create maybe a container and export that via NFS and maybe migrate that between nodes? Is that possible?
So if you have data data that you want available to a machine, yes, you could copy that data on the filer to a mount point or whatever. And it could be a CIFS, it could be a NFS. It doesn't really matter. And then it's interchangeably available between a VM or a container. Then it doesn't matter what the underlying OS is, whether it's a containerized OS or whether it's a hypervisor hosted OS. And it could be Docker as well. I mean, any of those options, okay, could be available to you as long as that data is first kind of taken out to a share unto itself so that you can import that data.
So could a container be shared storage between Proxmox hosts?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So then that way, if I'm doing a compute migration like vMotion, um, if I have the VMDKs or the backend storage on a container that's shared out via NFS, then it'd be very similar to vMotion and on the compute side without having to mirror or migrate over the actual data. Is that true?
Correct. And that data could also be shared among multiple containers. So you could have those containers boot off of a virtual NFS disk um, individually, and then they have shared data, okay, that is another NFS mount, okay, that they share among all of them. So if you had we're doing load balancing across multiple nodes or whatever, you could absolutely do that and just bring up multiple VMs and then share the backend data across multiple ones. And it doesn't matter whether they're containers or whether they're containers, whether they're hypervisor based. None of that matters. And it can also be shared out, okay, brought in to a node in Proxmox and then have Proxmox itself share it out.
So it seems like there's a ton of options, and we're just barely scratching the surface.
Chris,
Yes, sir.
we've got a question about high availability and disaster recovery. Can you explain the way the quorum works for high availability?
Ken?
Sure. So in Proxmox cluster, each it determines, okay, what the kind of the configuration is based on a vote of the machines that are participants in the cluster. And it's looking for a quorum, and you can set the benchmark for where what determines a quorum. So I don't generally look at this stuff much, okay, but I go in here. You can see that in this particular we have reached a quorum because all the nodes are up. And then each of these so these nodes are weighted differently. Can it show me this? Not showing me this, but each of the storage nodes actually, because the storage nodes are more important because they are what actually dictates the readiness of the overall cluster. Because in this particular cluster, all of the storage is going through that. So because they are basically the filer within this cluster. So in this cluster, each of these 4 storage nodes gets 2 quorum votes, and each of the compute nodes gets 1. And there is well, let's take a look. One of the nice things about the Proxmox stuff is all of this, everything is viewable on the back end. So this is a open source product, so you can kind of peek under the skirt about just about everything here. This particular file system is a file system that is replicated across all the nodes. So if you change something in this file system, all the nodes instantaneously see the same change. Let's see which try to remember which file this is in. Yeah. So so you see in this configuration, we have the corresponding nodes that are out here. So each of the storage nodes gets 2 quorum votes. Each of the compute nodes gets 1 quorum vote. It requires 6 total votes, okay, to establish a quorum and start the cluster. So that means that at least 3 storage nodes would need to be available, or 2 storage nodes and 2 compute nodes, or just some combination that gets you to 6 votes.
Cool. Well, I'm not seeing any more questions on my end. Mike, you seeing any more questions on your end?
Yeah, a real quick one. Yesterday we were on the call with one of our customers, Ken. You talked about all the templates that are available for if you wanted to have a bunch of VMs set up, so we could have a LAMP one and all the different types of
Sure,
templates. That was real cool. Can you show that to him real quick?
sure. So if I go into here and
What's interesting about this, people listening, is that this is exactly what the folks at Harmonica are asking for in their Just Add Water. You can actually have the templates to create the VMs.
so under here, if we look at our available templates for creating this is a container actually, and I'm showing you this because there is I way more these are actually all standardized container images. These are from turnkeylinux.org, and this is these are all kind of canned applications where the operating system on these, there's lots of them, by the way. It just kind of goes on and on. And what this is actually doing is it's taking and creating this wrapper, the OS wrapper, and just wrapping it around an application. So um, it kind of allows you to, if you want like just a lamp stack, you could just create like there's just a thing in here for a lamp stack. So Turnkey Linux. So if you want to do a lamp stack, you just select that one and it'll create a lamp stack. So that'll be um, basically a typical Apache MySQL PHP server. And then,
Go ahead,
sorry.
Ken. I'm sorry.
And then most of these, all have kind of an admin interface under themselves. So then they are also have a web administration also wrapped into them for doing basic administration on these machines. But there's also like there's LDAP servers in here. There is open source domain controllers in here. Pretty much all the different databases that you would see in here are all in here, both SQL ones and non-SQL ones. So you have and lots of kind of developer tools kind of stuff. So DocuWiki is actually that's what Wikipedia is based on. So if you want your own Wikipedia, you can just spin up Wikipedia.
Cool. Mike, do you have anything else coming in?
No, it's basically what we've got here for the FileMaker community is a FileMaker server-based solution that can handle your VMs, your AI, all those kind of things. That's templates. You can do remote replication for security. You have everything involved, and then basically we can help you put it together as a turnkey solution.
And given that this is now I'm by no means a FileMaker guy, but given that this is a FileMaker group, I'll also point out this in that if you want to do this for testing, you can also bring up you can also bring up Mac OS on here as well. You can create VMs of Mac OS. So if you wanted to do a kind of a basic testing for Mac Minis, you could do that as well. And kind of in the earlier conversation, we were talking about importing VMDK files. And by the way, this particular one, these two Ansible instances, these are both actually created from VMDK files. So these
Cool.
are actually virtual machines that were originally VMware virtual machines. And they were just imported in, no modifications.
So just to summarize, so to energize your FileMaker performance, so the SimpleStore X14 is designed to supercharge FileMaker server as well as AI applications. Our enterprise clients prefer Windows Linux for enterprise class servers. Our solutions provide Proxmox virtualization and failover, ZFS for immutable storage, snapshots, and replication. And we customize these systems to fit your applications and networking infrastructure. Zerowait provides world-class maintenance, support, and engineering. That's especially coming from the engineering side, like me. SimpleStore X14 is scalable, predictable, affordable, and it's a reliable enterprise FileMaker server solution. And there you go.
Thanks for tuning in today.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Ken. Thanks, Scott. Everyone have a nice day.